If you find yourself being just too obsessed with girls that you date and you can't stop it and you don't know why you're like this, you can watch this video because I used to struggle with the same problem, and now I've been married for over a year and I've been in a happy relationship with my wife for over 2 years. I learned how to get rid of my desperate and emotional energy that caused women to just run away from me. I used to be so obsessed with women, and I used to be obsessed with being in a relationship and having a woman's attention, and I couldn't stop it until there were certain things that I learned that just totally destroyed that problem and allowed me to finally get into a long-term relationship with someone and have someone that I'll spend the rest of my life with now. So if you can follow what I'm saying in this video, and if you apply the principles that I'm going to teach you, not only will your life improve, but your relationships will as well. You'll finally have that woman that you stay with long term, or if you're in a relationship right now, you'll stop struggling so much. You have to understand this. Desperate energy is the number one fastest way to kill a relationship. Now, if you are desperate, this means that the idea of being in a romantic relationship, the idea of being a boyfriend or being a husband, if that is the number one goal in your life, you will never, ever get it. I had such trouble getting into a long-term relationship and staying in a long-term relationship until I stopped making women the number one goal in my life. I remember a long time ago when I was younger, I used to be so lonely. And I used to be obsessed with the idea of being a boyfriend and going on dates and kissing and having sex and getting married. And these are all nice things. But if these are like the number one dream and goal that you have for your life, I can almost guarantee you that you'll either never get it or you'll be really happy with or unhappy with who you end up with. I've seen this too many times in my life, not only from myself, but from other people. And it wasn't until I stopped making women the number one focus in my life that anything changed, because romantic obsession takes over when you lack purpose or desire. The best men, the men who have the happiest relationships to the most beautiful women, they all have one thing in common. Women are not the center of their world. What I mean by this is that the most successful men in relationships, including myself, we have certain things that we focus on that is not having a relationship with my woman. So for example, I remember specifically a couple of months before I met my wife, I was going through one of those phases where I was just really lonely and really, really obsessed with getting a girlfriend. And so all the time I was on the dating apps, and I was on Tinder, I was on Bumble, I was on this one, on that one, and I'm like swiping and swiping and swiping, and I'm talking and texting and texting and texting, and I'm spending all my time and energy trying to go out with a girl. And it felt like an uphill battle that was never ever working. And so I struggled so much, and it would get me so down and so depressed. And I remember on the dating app, I remember there was this girl that I wanted to go out with, and then I got ghosted. And then I went another time on one date with a girl, and I thought she was gonna be really, really sweet, but she was just really rude and complaining a lot. And it got me so discouraged that I just deleted all the dating apps. And I said, you know what, fuck it, I give up. I'm not gonna try anymore. I'm so tired of this. And I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna be lonely for the rest of my life. And so what I did was I just redirected my energy, and I started working on myself a lot more. I started thinking about the business that I was gonna build, content creation, personal branding, coaching. I started going to the gym more and exercising. I started spending more time on my family and my friends. And all of a sudden I went down the line a few months, and my life was just exponentially better. Even though that loneliness was still in my life, I had friends, I had family, I was in shape, I had things that were interesting that I was doing in my life. And then all of a sudden I meet my wife, and just by me being myself, she was just incredibly attracted to me, which made dating effortless. It was so much easier than it was before because I didn't have to beg for her attention. She wanted to be around me. She wanted to be with me. The reason why was because I had such an interesting life. So to have that kind of transformation, the first thing that you have to understand is you have to sit down and you have to really get clear on what your purpose and what your mission is for your life. I remember back in March of 2024, I wrote out on like a piece of paper my like long-term goals for the next year. And I really sat down and thought about where I was gonna be in 5 years, 10 years. And I got really detailed with it, where I wanted to live, what I wanted to do for my work, for my job, how much money I was going to be making, what I would spend my time doing during the day. And I wrote all that down, and I just started making a plan towards how I'm going to work towards it. I wanted to get my college degree. I had never gone to college. I wanted to build a business and make over 10K per month. And while I started to plan out all these different things about how I wanted to live my life, it gave me a lot of clear focus on what to do with my life. And once I did that, I just got to work. I would focus on myself. I was going to the gym a lot. I was working on my mind. I was working on my health. I was working on my fitness. And then again, these things just went down and down and down. Like, I built it up so much, and I had a lot of success. And that's what caused me to meet my wife and what caused her to be so attracted to me. So if you're looking for that, like, breakthrough in securing a long-term relationship, and then also if you're struggling in your current relationship, if you just feel really unclear about what to do with your life or where you're going, if you can take a step back from spending as much time with your girl and you can just lock in on those things and you can get really clear about what it is that you're trying to accomplish here, and you just dedicate a lot of your time and your focus and your energy towards that, even if you end up spending less time with your girl, she'll start to respect you a lot more, because now you're going to start going places, you're going to get in shape, you're going to make money, because not only will your life in general get better, but as a byproduct, it'll make your relationships even better. So you need to get really clear on your mission and on your purpose by writing it down, what it is that you want to do with your life, and you just execute and you just do it, and you stop getting distracted by all these vices. The next thing I want to talk about is to spend less time and less energy with your girl if you have one already, even though it might hurt you. I want you to imagine an analogy right now. Let's say there's a man and he needs to go off to war and to defend his country and defend his homeland. And he has a woman that's with him, maybe his wife, maybe he has children. Could you imagine how shameful it would be if he said, no, I don't want to go. I'm going to spend time, I'm going to lay in bed with you. And then because he doesn't go off to war, his country falls. That's not a noble way to live. It would be better for that man to go off to war and do something noble with his life that builds his character, that builds him success in his life, that he could take home to his woman. Once that happens and he is able to come home, his relationship is better than it was when he left. That's the reality for men who get up and get shit done every day. For example, in my life, I had a phase where I was just spending too much time with my woman. I wasn't focused on the gym. I wasn't focused on goals in my life. I wasn't focused on making more money or developing my career or anything like that. I was doing the bare minimum, and then I was just going home and watching TV with my girl. And it caused our relationship to get really boring, and she was starting to lose a lot of respect for me. And our relationship didn't improve a whole lot, and it didn't grow a whole lot until I took a step back and I'm like, hey, what am I doing? I need to do more with my life. And so I decided to make a change, and I started going back to the gym a lot more. I came up with an idea for business. I went back to college and I started striving towards a promotion at my job. And I was a lot busier than I was before, and I was working hard, and I didn't have as much energy to spend with my woman. But instead of our relationship getting worse, it actually got better. And that's the reality for what happened in my relationship, but that's also what the guys in the most successful relationships do. Could you imagine a billionaire CEO? He probably doesn't spend a whole lot of time with his woman, but his girl is perfectly happy and she's not going anywhere. And it's not even because of the money, it's because of what kind of person you become. How easy it is for a woman to respect such a strong man who rejects the vice of spending too much time being lazy and building up something so that she can have security, so that she can have children and not have to worry about going to work and providing, or where the bills are going to get paid from. Not even about money, but just in general. She's not going to have to worry about her husband having health problems because he goes and works on his fitness. This is the reality for if you can just spend less time with your woman and you can direct it towards doing something more productive. Less is more a lot of the time. Your woman would rather 30 minutes of pure focused intentional time with you after you've already accomplished things that will build yourself up today and in the future than it would be to spend all day while, you know, the bills aren't getting paid, the responsibilities aren't getting taken care of, you're staying stagnant, you're in the same neighborhood, you're in the same area, doing the same things. Most people don't want this. You want a woman that like wants a successful future, because those are like the best kinds of women to have. So the price that you have to pay in order to be with a good woman is to build her security for the future. And you only do that by rejecting the temporary pain of spending too much time with her in the short term, and you focus on building your life and your future. The next thing that I need to talk about is you have to think about where you're taking her in life. This goes back to like the same point that I was making. If you can think about where you're going in your life, this will actually save you a lot of pain and a lot of struggle. One of the easiest ways for relationships to die is if you guys aren't on the same page about where you're going. So if you've done what I told you to do earlier in this video, or if you're the kind of guy who already has these ambitions, you lay it out on the table and you're like, look, if you want to continue being in a long-term relationship with me, this is where I want my life to be in a year. This is where I want it to go in 5 years. This is where I want to be in 10 years. Are you on board with this? You have to ask her. You have to have that difficult conversation, because again, my wife and I, it took some time for us to really get on the same page about where our future was going. But if you're not on the same page about the future, it'll bring uncertainty into today. You will be uncertain today if you're not thinking about the future. So many times, especially if this is your first long-term relationship, you'll get so caught up in like the pleasure and the emotions of having a relationship, of going out, of managing drama that might come with it. But the only thing that's important is, where are you going in the future? What's tomorrow going to look like? That is the most important thing that you have to constantly ask yourself when you're in a long-term relationship with a woman. Because just like any other person, most people, they just want to be successful. They want to have a better life in the future than they do right now. And chances are your girl is no different. She wants to have security. She wants to have a safe space to have her family. It's your job to provide that for her. So if you can think long-term where your life is going, and you can map that out and you can plan that out with her, and you can say, hey, this is where I want to be. Like, you can be on my side, but this is where I'm going regardless of if this relationship continues. Because like for me, I'm going to finish school. I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to be an attorney and have my own law firm. That's going to happen regardless of what happens with me and my wife or anybody else in my social circle, because that's what I want. But I want her to be beside me. And because I have that level of intention towards where I'm going with my future, it makes her a lot more secure to say, hey, I'm with a guy who knows what he's doing. I'm with a guy who knows what he's talking about. I'm with a guy who's not going to let distractions get in the way. I'm not with a guy who's going to play games. And you have to take a step back and say, is that really you right now? If you're struggling in your relationship, that's probably not it. Because guys who are extremely successful in their life usually only have relationship struggles if they're not spending enough time with their woman, if they're not paying any attention to her, if they're treating her bad and yelling and screaming at her and cheating on her. If you're not doing any of that stuff, but if you're also just really stagnant with your own life, you'll struggle a lot in your relationships. And this is something that I wish I learned earlier, because again, romantic obsession takes over when your life lacks purpose. So get purpose, and you'll have a healthy, loving, fulfilling relationship. I'm living proof of this. I swear to you, if you apply this, it will work. If you want like personalized one-to-one help, if you want to really guarantee that you're going to get to the next level, both in your life, but in your relationships, if you click on the link in the description below, you can book a free discovery call with me, and we can evaluate where you are with your relationship with your woman. And we can talk about what's holding you back from really having a good relationship. And we can work towards getting you into our program where we can transform the habits and the mindsets that were holding you back from getting to the next level. So if you click on the link in the description below, you can book a free discovery call where you can talk one-to-one with me. And if you've watched it so far in this video, it's because you know that I can help you. So click on that link in the description, book your call. Don't hesitate, don't wait, because it's not gonna get better if the behavior doesn't change, bro. Click on that link in the description below and we'll talk soon. Thank you and take care.